Hi ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Saaa Accounting Academy. Here's a short clip on one of our previous webinars. I hope that you really do enjoy it.
Good day, welcome to this week's webinar for the Saaa Accounting Academy. My name is David Delaney. I work with a company called Business Unite, and we're developing a series called Digitally Ready, which looks at digital marketing, how it's changing and evolving, and how we can prepare your business to make the most of different digital marketing platforms, really to drive customers and drive purchases on your platforms. So this week's webinar, we're going to be looking at two topics. The first topic is how to make your website great. And the second section for today's will be focusing on marketing automation, something you may not have heard of, but a very serious and powerful marketing tool which you can apply to your accounting practice. So starting with our first topic, what makes a great website? Well, there's many different ideas of what makes a great website, what people think, what you can apply, and how you can develop it over time. We're going to be specifically looking at 5 different areas. And whether you have your own website at the moment, or you're reevaluating your current website to see how you can make it more powerful, I think this section on website is applicable to anybody listening to this webinar today. As an overview to this particular webinar, we're going to look at 5 areas. Firstly, where to begin. Secondly, of course, there's costs. What costs must you consider when developing and setting up your website? Then the third section, the real nitty-gritty, is how do you make it great? And we're going to focus on 5 areas. And lastly, obviously, the website carries on. How do you maintain it to the best of its potential? I've developed a small roadmap in setting up your website. The first area looks at the setup, the initial setup of your website, getting your content together and registering your domain and hosting the website. The second section is where your content comes in, which is crucial. And that's populating the website in a user-friendly manner with relevant content that, pinpoints the questions that potential clients have for you, and then you answer it in the best way possible. The third section is optimizing your website. And that's where a bit of SEO will come in. And we'll be discussing this in a future webinar also. The fourth section, how to sell your website. And of course, as we mentioned at the overview, how do you improve your website over time to be effective? There's different steps to a great website. And we're going to focus on these 5 areas. Although there's many more, I think these 5 areas are pivotal to ensuring that you've got a great website set up that sells your services as an accountant practitioner. The first section is user experience. And that's ensuring that your website is designed for the user. So obviously as an accountant, you work in technically complex practices. You've got specific jargon that in general, your potential client might not understand. They trust that you are as an expert, but you still have to sell on your website your service, your solutions, and speaking to them and providing that solution to them. And the second section is content, hugely important. Giving the potential client relevant information that they want to hear. They're looking for an accountant, they're looking for an auditor. You got to speak their language as well. So you might be like dumbing down a little bit, but speaking to them in a way that they understand, they trust you, and they're willing to do business with you. The third section, which has become increasingly important, is having a mobile responsive website. Now think if you open a website on your phone and it displays in the same as a desktop, you're not going to be zooming in to find information. You're going to give up and bounce off that website. So websites are becoming increasingly mobile responsive. So you have one design for your desktop, one design for your mobile, and another one for your tablet. So mobile responsiveness not only is crucial in the user interface, it's also become a factor for Google, that they will penalize you for not having a mobile responsive website. So if you do have an existing website, it's worth just checking, do a mobile responsive test to see how mobile responsive is your website. And if it's not up to scratch, we highly recommend make a few changes with your web developer. The fourth part is security. Obviously, again, it's becoming a more increasingly important area. You want to make sure that the users feel comfortable on your site. Often as an accountant, you'll be obtaining personal information, you're going to be obtaining financial records, and it's hugely important to the customer and the client that they know that the information is secure, that you've got secure servers, that everything is encrypted and there's no threat that someone can illegally obtain information from your website. You want to thwart hackers. Ransomware has become a huge thing, even more so than physical kidnappings and carjackings. I think ransomware and taking information off the internet, people's records, has become the biggest threat and the biggest fear of your clients trusting you to give them information to your website. And the final section that ties in with optimizing is going to be SEO, which is basically optimizing your site to appear in Google, Bing, and more commonly Amazon, so that you appear in the organic search results. And that's getting you fresh organic leads that you don't have to pay per click. And if you want to have a competitive advantage, you need to look at optimizing your web pages with specific keywords that a potential client might be inserting into Google to find your website at the top of Google rankings. Those are our 5 steps. The question, where do you begin? Or where should you reevaluate your current website? The first one is obviously to choose a domain. Find the perfect website name for your business. For example, it can be www.accountants.co.za. More than likely not available. But putting your name also builds trust and credibility. The second section is finding a hosting company. And a hosting company is a company that will host your website and the pages and the files on their servers. There's a few examples. I personally use domains.coza for my website, but also there's GoDaddy, international company, and locally you've also got AfriHost. So there's a few options, different pricing options, depending how big your website is, how many pages you're going to have. That will also affect your hosting costs. And it's generally a monthly cost, it's not too much. Thirdly, and the most important part, is gathering your content. And you want to make sure that whether it comes from yourself or comes from your partners, you want to gather your solutions, you want to gather your information and display that nice and easily across your website with lots of call to action buttons that instruct the user to take the next course of action. Fourthly, and this is in the developing and design stages, is to find a great web designer and developer. That's getting the right expert to develop and assemble your site. It's not just putting the text on, it's also having sliders, it's maybe integrating a few plugins, whether you have invoice generator or accountancy software that you want to plug into your site. It really helps to have a great website designer and developer. And generally in the web developer and designer area, I guess the more the more that you pay, the better solutions and the better expertise you're going to get. Finally, don't just throw it on live, test it. Get some friends to go through it, do a user experience test, and tailor that to your business objectives. Test it first, look for some feedback from clients, from maybe some partners, and then when you're ready to launch it, go live and then market it. Of course, with designing a great website, there's all initial and ongoing costs involved. The initial costs of designing a great website, firstly, the web development and design. Getting that developer to spend obviously the labor and time to develop a great website. The second area you need to look at as well with your website in the initial stage is integrating any different plugins and gateways. So for example, you might have a Shopify, you might have a commerce gateway for a website, whether it be for accountancy or if you're selling, for example, you're selling training products or you're selling accountancy software. So there's different plugins that you may need to license on a monthly basis. And it's also worth factoring into your website costs. The ongoing costs of a great website, firstly, monthly hosting. Second, is possibly consider having a website maintenance plan with your web designer, just to make sure if there's any problems, any bugs, that you've got a web designer with a couple of hours that can fix any problems that might go on. And then thirdly, in the ongoing section is where SEO, search engine optimization. It's building your ongoing SEO to make sure that people come to your website. So there's not really a point in spending a fortune on a great website when the idea is you need to bring traffic to your website. And SEO will play a large role in that, which we'll be discussing in future webinars.
I hope that you enjoyed that video. For more of our webinar videos, go to www.accountingacademy.co.za. Thank you and have a lovely day.